Good morning, cubies and newbies. I am Sunshine. I'm the creator of the ABCube method for solving Rubik's Cubes. It's 2 formulas, 4 moves, 8 moves, and it solves every size and complexity of Rubik's Cubes, as long as it's n by n by n. As long as it's a cube, this will solve it. Formula A, you hold the cube, every cube is treated the same way. And you hold the cube as if it were hold the cube and look at the front of the face, the side facing you, and look at it as if it were a spreadsheet with rows and columns. And the arrows represent the single slice that you turn, the single row or column that you turn for that movement. And Formula A is 4 moves, Formula B is 8 moves. And Formula A will be used to bring a color to the top, a piece to the top, and Formula B is used to move 3 pieces around, and that is all you ever need to do. Someone yesterday talked about parodies, and I am prepared to discuss that in further detail. But a simple overview of what the formulas do. Formula A, if you apply it to Formula A will move something from the front to the top. I generally only apply it to the corners and to the absolute center, because Formula A does affect all 6 sides when you're doing it. But when you're doing it with the corners, you do it in multiples of 6, so it doesn't. If I wanted to apply Formula A to the absolute center, it would look something like this. I would use this row and this column, and I'm going to move it up to the top. So I move it away. I move where I want it to land down. Move the cube into the space, and the cube in the space back up again. And for the absolute center, that gives you boxes, because the absolute center is one single piece. To work on corners, bottom row, right column, out, down, in, up, move the piece out of the way, the space down, the piece back, and the piece on the space back up again. And it flips these two, and as it does, it's usually done in multiples of further along it's done in multiples of 6. It does not alter the cube in any way. Anything done to the cube enough times will return you to a solved state. Oh, let's do this parodies. So to fix these centers, I would just do it 1 or 2 times more. The cubes that it moves are the front, right, and top. Okay. So it flips these, it repositions these two, and it twists it as it goes along. So if that's what I wanted to do, if that's the way I want this one, I have to move it over and finish the 6th column on another piece or pieces. So it does not alter anything except the pieces that you're actually working on. So if you have 2 corners that are in the correct position, please speed solve. Hi, how are you today? I am not fast. My average time on the 3x3 is about 1.5 minutes. So that is not my claim to fame. My claim to fame is that I can teach the method on every cube in about 1.5 hours. From a non-cuber perspective, yours is 10 seconds? Yes, you have me beat. Anything that's faster than my eyes can follow is just magic to me. I sit in awe of you. So, but this is not a speed solving method. This is not the fewest moves method. This is but this is a beginner's method. Well, I say beginner's method is already been defined. Let's call it a newbie method for every size Rubik's Cube. Formula A brings a piece to the top, Formula B moves 3 pieces around, and that's all on a cube. That's all you ever need to do, because there will always be 3 pieces to move around. Yesterday we were talking about parity. Someone looked at these 2 formulas and says, well, that doesn't solve parities. And that's absolutely correct, because parities are a lie. You do not have to deal with parities, ever. Parities are a lie. A parity is where it looks like a parity came about when we started moving from a 3x3 to a 4x4, because there were certain things that you could not get that were absolutely solvent. Or the daycare disease. Oh, you have hand, foot, and mouth disease, the daycare disease. Are you a daycare provider? Is that what you're telling me? So a parity is something that appears on a 4x4 that can't show up on a 3x3, which is actually a lie. There are no parities. When it looks like there's 2 pieces that are out of place, there's always 3 pieces that are out of place. Let me demonstrate. You can get a parity on a 3x3 if you have something that's not solved yet. For example, this is what a parity looks like. One of the things a parity looks like. This red wants to be here, this orange wants to be here. So these 2, it looks like we've got a parity, but there really isn't, because my corners aren't solved yet. And if my corners are solved, that parity would disappear. Here's another one. Here's another parity I created. I created this parity, and it's caused by, again, the corners aren't solved. Whenever there's a parity, or what looks like a parity, okay. Oh, okay. Your little brother went to daycare and came home with something. All right. So anytime you have something that looks like a parity, it just means that something is off. You have not fixed something. And so here's something a parity can look like. A parity can look like these 2. Or a parity can look like these 2. This is not a parity. A parity can look like these 2. A parity can look like these 2, or these 2, or these 2. Anytime it looks like there's 2 pieces and only 2 pieces, that's a lie, because there's always 3 pieces. So when it looks like there's 2 pieces, the third piece that you can't see is literally the piece that you cannot see. So if the row, the inner row on your cube that touches that parity, one of them is 1/4 turn off. And if you rotate that cube 1/4 turn, that row 1/4 turn, then the parity, and then solve it in that position, the parity disappears. If you have the centers solved, you're going to have to redo the centers on that one slice, which is why I do centers last. But that's what a parity is. A parity is there's something that's a 1/4 turn off. On this one, it's a corner parity. To solve that, yes, there is an algorithm with this one. Yeah, there is an algorithm to solve it. There are many parity algorithms on the 3x3 that I showed. I showed 2 3x3s. This one has the parity that is caused because my corners are not correct yet. And this parity is caused because my corners are, these ones are diagonal corners are not solved. These ones, adjacent corners are not solved. The Lego one. So the parity is always caused by something being a 1/4 turn off. So if if I do a 1/4 turn on the row that touches the parity and then solve it again, the parity disappears. So for this one, the parity, it's a corner parity. No, this one, not this one. Getting confused. So if I had my corners solved, this parity would not be there, the Lego one. Okay, so this cube wants to be here, this cube wants to be here, and these cubes are here. So two parodies cancel each other out. So this one is caused by the center being a quarter turn off, and this one is caused by the corners being a quarter turn off, and so the parodies cancel each other out. If I solve these corner cubes, and the way I solve corners is the colors are on top, I look at the sides to see whether they match each other, and either all of them do, none of them do, or one of them do. If one of them does, I face it away, and I do formula B, up, up, down, down, and then I use formula A to bring the black back to the top, my top color back to the top, bottom row, right column. When it's on top, I slide it out of the way to protect it, keep it safe, keep going. Okay, slide it out of the way, keep going, formula A. And now my corners are correct to each other, and we can see that when I position the corners, these edges that looked correct were not. So these edges are incorrectly placed, which is why I have this parity. So if I correct the placement of these edges, this parity disappears. So a parity is always caused by one row being a quarter turn off. And instead of memorizing parity algorithms, all you have to do is correct that turn. In this case, the turn was the top row. The top row was a quarter turn off. I had the centers lined up this way, but my edges were not correct. So when you correct that top row at that 1/4 turn like that, then all the edges become solvable, and instead of two edges out of place, there's now 6. So three or more edges. So now I can place these pieces. I will displace this one. Okay, so here's a piece that wants to be over here. I bring the corners to match the front. It's going in the black direction. So it's top row and 2 columns, and the 2 columns are where the cube wants to land and where the cube is right now. So if I do formula B with this row and these 2 columns, this piece will move over there. So away, up, in, up, away, down, in, down. And yes, there are algorithms to do this faster, but this is a newbie method. Not the fastest, not the shortest number of moves, but it works on every size cube the exact same way. We'll solve every size cube the exact same way. And you don't have to memorize parity algorithms, because parities are a lie, and we can undo them with a single quarter turn. So we don't have to memorize any of the parity algorithms. They don't matter at all. So, all right, so my corners are done, my opposite edges are done, and then I'm going to do my side edges. Yellow is my favorite color, so we're doing the yellow first. So I check the side edges to see if they are correct, and one of them is, but the rest are not. So I'm going to displace this yellow into this space, which will move it to the top so I can work on it. Black is face down. It's a visual clue for what columns I'm working on if I get interrupted or distracted. So I find a piece on top that's not yellow. I move the cube to line up the corners. I determine which direction it's going. And formula B, top row, 2 columns, where it's going to land and where it begins. Up, up, down, down. Look for a piece on top that's not yellow. Move the cube to match the front corners. Corners match the front color. It's going, so this is my first column, this is my second column, because this is going to land here. So up, up, down, down. Look for a piece on top that's not yellow. Corners match the front, it's going in this direction. Up, up, down, down. So when I'm teaching people in real life, in real time. I don't teach them any algorithms. I don't teach them that this is right and this is left and this is clockwise and this is counterclockwise, and a clockwise right is parallel to a counterclockwise left, and you have to memorize all of these algorithms, and you have to do them in this order or else you're messing up what's gone before, and this algorithm does this, and I don't do that. I don't do any of that. I say, okay, let's look at the corners. Let's bring your color to the top. Let's look and see if they're in the right place. Let's move them around if they're not and bring the color back to the top, and now they're in the right place. And we put them face down and do the other second 4 corners the exact same way. So this does not teach a parity algorithm. It does not teach you how to solve a parity, because parities don't need to be solved. This method teaches you that that a single quarter turn will dissolve the parity, and you don't have to deal with it anymore. So when all you have to memorize is Formula A and Formula B, and you don't have to memorize parity algorithms for the 50% of the time that they come up, then everything is fine. Everything is happy. So to demonstrate, this has a parity. The parity is caused by one of the centers being a quarter turn off. So one of the centers that touches this parity, it could be this one, could be this one. It doesn't matter which direction I turn it. I can turn it either direction, but if I were to turn it 1 quarter turn and then solve for my corners, my edges, I know words, and then solve for my edges, the parity disappears. So corners match the front. It's going in the red direction. Up, up, down, down. Corners match the front. It's going the orange direction. Up, up, down, down. Corners match the front. It's going in the orange direction. Up, up, down, down. Corners match the front. It's going in the red direction. Up, up, down, down. Something on top that's not the top color, line it up to the corners match the front. Find its direction. Up, up, down, down. And the parity is gone. I do have to redo these edges, because the centers, because I did them first and they looked correct, but they were not, because these pieces want to be over here. That quarter turn was my problem, but I did not know there was a quarter turn, because you can't see as well on the 4x4 what the quarter turns or what the centers are doing as you can on a 3x3. So this one, again, this looks like an edge parity, but it only exists because my corners are not correct. So if I correct the corners, which is, okay, my first 4 corners are correct. White's on top, side colors match. Second 4 corners, yellow's on top, but the sides do not match. So to do the corners, I check the side. Either all of the sides will match like this, or one of them will match like I just did, or none of them will match. And if none of them match, it doesn't matter which way I hold it. I just do Formula B, slide, top row, outside columns, up, up, down, down, and then Formula A to bring my yellow back to the top again, slide, 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 slide. Okay, and so now I check the yellow's on top, green does not equal orange, blue equals blue. So the side that matches goes away from me, headlights as if I were driving away. And I do Formula B again, up, up, down, down. Formula A to bring my color back to the top. When it's on top, slide the top row to protect it and keep going on this one. Slide it, protect it, keep going. And yellows are correct on top, sides are correct to each other. Rotate the top so that the bottoms and the tops and bottoms match. And now my corners are correct to each other. And this parity that I had of just 2 edge pieces is now 1, 2, 3, 4 edge pieces that are out of place, and those can be solved. So my formula B is going to move if I do the outside columns, it moves corners around. If I do the outside and inside column, it's going to move this piece here. So I'm going to line this up. I'm going to move so that this is an incorrect piece, and I'm going to do formula B, up, up, down, down, and then I'm going to undo that set. Okay, so now this blue is correct. This orange wants to go over here. This green wants to go here. Bring it down so that these 3 are the ones that are going to turn. Up, up, down, down, and set it back up again. And now this is not a parity because they're in the correct place, and each one of them wants to be flipped. So again, my formula B works with these 3 pieces, so I'm going to move this down. I'm going to do a formula B, and then move it back up again. And I'm going to continue moving it in this direction because this piece wants to go here. These 3 want to move around. Formula B again. Set the top, and we're done. So here's another parity. Again, this piece wants to be here, this piece wants to be here. So what is the row that's out of place? It doesn't matter. It could be this row, could be this row. They're on the same layer internally of the cube, because this piece can go here. So again, if I make a single quarter turn on a side that has the slice that has the parity, okay, then I can solve the edges and the parity disappears. I don't know, let me put this, I want to put this on the same row first. Okay, I did not do that. Okay, hold on. There we go. So now it's on the same row. So a single quarter turn, and if you can tell that if I go this way, this piece is correct and these 3 are not. But if I go the other direction, still 1 piece is correct and 3 are not. So to undo the parity is a single quarter turn, and it does displace your centers if you've done the centers, which is one reason why I do the centers last. So again, it's the same parity. Before it was on 2 different faces, but as I try to manipulate this parity, it can show up in lots of different ways. But every parity is the same lie. The center is 1 quarter turn off. Fix that, and then A and B will do the rest. Okay. White's the top color. Find a piece on top that's not that color. Move the cube to the corners match the front. Determine which direction it's going. First column, second column. Away up, in, up, away down, in, down. Set the top if you want. Look for the piece on top that's not the top color. Corners match the front. It's going in this direction. Up, up, down, down. Corners match the front. Determine its direction. First column, second column. First, start by going away. Up, up, down, down. Set the top, and the parity is gone. The edges still need to be placed, and that's something else that I learned when I was doing my formula, creating this method, is that when you're taking the cube apart to clean it or oil it or whatever you're going to do. When you take the cube apart, we've all been taught that you have to put it back together again in the solved position, or else you might end up with an unsolvable state. Because if a corner's flipped, or if 2 pieces are swapped on a cube, on a 3x3, that's a problem. However, for the larger cubes, while that is still correct that you have to place the corners correctly and the absolute center correctly and the edge pieces correctly, the center pieces, aside from the absolute center, every one of these center pieces can be correctly placed in one of 4 positions. So this could be this yellow diagonal centerpiece can be next to the yellow, red, and green, or it can be next to the yellow, red, and blue, or it can be next to, etc. So since every diagonal and oblique center can be in more than one solid position, when you take it apart and put it back together again, for the centers, you only have to sort by shape, not by color. You can put it together again in any position by shape, and you will be able to solve it because the mathematics of the cube are so high. So that is why parodies don't exist. Let's fix these ones. So again, my colors, all right, so this one's in the right place, this one's in the right place. Formula A will twist them. So I'm going to use Formula A to twist this cube. My coordinate is still not correct. Okay, now it's correct, but as part of my 6 sequence, if I stop now, my edges are scrambled. So I slide to the top, find another piece to finish out my sequence on, and Formula A does not displace the rest of the cube, as it didn't. So, Good morning. If you're just joining me, I am Sunshine. I'm the creator of the ABCube method. It's not the fastest, it's not a speed solve, it's not a fewest move solve, but because it works on every size cube, if you're going to compare it to another method, you have to compare it to a method that works on every size cube. And since it's only 2 formulas and they're used so often, they're easy to memorize. A brings a piece to the top, B is used for everything else. If you use the top row and outside columns, it moves corners. Top row, outside, and inner column, it moves edge pieces. Top row and 2 inner columns, and it moves centers. And that's all you're ever going to need to do on a cube. Because parodies are a lie, we do not need to learn parody algorithms. We do not need to learn multiple parody algorithms. If we work from the outside in, then the parody can be on the corner or the edges. As you find the parody, you solve it with a single quarter turn, and you continue, and you never have to deal with parodies again. So that's it. That's me. I'm Sunshine. This is my method. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for talking to me. I see a couple of names here that I don't remember. I don't recognize. If you're new to me, say hi in the chat. Someone asked me to speed solve. They wanted to see how I can speed solve, which would be very anticlimactic because my average on a 3x3 is about 1.5 minutes. I'm not fast, but I have been. Whoopsie! I just clicked something on my computer. Go away. I haven't finished. I'm not using this drive. Go away. Thank you. Okay. So, Formula A brings the color to the top. Formula B moves 3 pieces around. That's all you ever need to do because parodies are a lie. They can be undone with a single quarter turn of an inner slice, and then you don't have to memorize the parodies anymore. Parody algorithms anymore, or what they look like, or how many different ways they can show up. So, like I said, 1.5 minutes to solve the 3x3. However, when I teach the cube in real life or over the phone, yes, I do it over the phone. I also have them set up for Zoom. When I teach the cube with a brand new non-cuber, it takes me 2 sessions between an hour, total teach time between 1.5 hours and 2 hours, and everybody that I've taught can pick up any cube and know that they can put it down in a solved state using just Formula A and Formula B. So that's my claim to fame. I'm kind of proud of myself for that. Like I said, I'm not fast. I can't beat you in a race. But if, you know, when you get to, I might be able, I mean, well, yeah, I didn't learn the finger tricks when I was young, because when I was young, cubes were not like this. You did not have to just think a slice and it would turn for you. Everything had to be completely lined up. This is I learned back in the 80s, okay? So be nice to me. This is a cube from the 80s. This is the Rubik's game. Did not become wildly popular, surprisingly. This was from 1982. I think you can correct that. There, 1982. And you separate the cube from its tray. These are pegs you put in it for however you played the game. I've never played the game. But here's an example of the cubes from the 80s. Okay, you needed 2 hands to make each turn. So and there was no cornering. If it wasn't completely lined up, then you had to, it did not turn. So you were constantly tapping it and making sure it was lined up, and so this is the standard Rubik's Cube was not quite as clunky as this one is. This one, I think if I wash it, you'll get more of the general idea. But yeah, when I was learning the Rubik's Cube, and I learned by muscle memory, I bought the book at the local 7-Eleven and memorized it, because that's how the non-geniuses learned how to solve the Rubik's Cube back then. This is the book that I learned and that I memorized, by James Norse. This was before we had standardized notation. A plus meant clockwise and a minus meant counterclockwise. And then they showed you all of the pretty patterns you could do. That was the thing. Some people went for speed. Some people went for patterns. Once you'd mastered the cube, by mastered I mean you pick it up, you can put it down, solved. Once you'd done that, then it was like, well, now what do I do? Because human brains are designed to go to look for the next challenge. And so since speed solving wasn't a thing yet, we came up with different patterns that we could do. We came up with shooting patterns. I have a pretty pattern. I want to show you my pretty pattern, and then I will close for the day. My pattern, the pattern that I created back in the 80s, and I think it's pretty, is called softball. And you can imagine 2 pieces of cloth coming together and being sewn together, 2 separate pieces of cloth. And so I use 3 colors on one row, one side, and the other 3 colors on the other side, and they fit together. Let me show you how it's done. I did this differently back in the 80s because I had not created the A and B method yet. So I just wrote down on a piece of paper everything I did to get into that position, and the same moves solved it as created it. So I wrote it down, and then I memorized it all by my muscle memory hand things. And so I could take a cube, put it behind my back, and I could do this pattern and bring it out, and it was pretty solved. And I could take that pretty solved and put it behind my back and do things and come up with a solved cube. My nephew asked me last month, he says, "Can you still solve the cube behind your back?" And I said, actually, I never really could. It was in a pattern that I had memorized, and so that's how I could do it. I could not really do it behind my back. I cannot do blindfold now. But you fast cubers nowadays give Jeffrey Verasano his due, because when he set the first record, he was using an original Rubik's. So his 23.42 seconds would contest with today's 23.42 seconds, because the cube was a completely different cube. So, do I know anybody have any questions for me? So parodies are a lie. You don't need to have them anymore. They're caused by a single one row being a quarter turn off. And what the row that's off is the one that touches that parity. Make it a single quarter turn, and your parity dissolves. That's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. So thank you for joining me. Thank you. Interexes. If you're not following me, why not? I'm a nice person. I'm happy. I'm I'm fun. I am not a speed solver. I cannot give you a run for your money on the cube. But like I said, if you have any non-cuber friends who are in awe of you, and they don't have the mental discipline to spend the hours and months that you have spent training to be able to learn all of these algorithms to do this cube and to do it better and to excel at what you're doing. You have someone who's like, just tell me the secret. I don't want to have to just tell me the secret. Bring them to me. This is the secret. This is the secret to be able to solving the cube without breaking your brain. So thank you for joining me. I need to go get ready for physical therapy. So I'll be back here tomorrow. You guys go have a fun day. Be nice to yourself. And if you're not following me, follow me. That'd be awesome. And I will be back here tomorrow. So bye.